Hello, dames and everyone else watching. I'm excited to be here today with Marla DiCarlo. She is the co-founder of Raincatcher, and this is our March conversation. And just a little bit about Raincatcher. Raincatcher helps entrepreneurs buy and sell remarkable companies across the United States, especially inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs in search of the American dream. So today I'm excited for this topic. It's probably going to be a short and sweet one, but it's very important. And we're going to talk about buyer tension. That seems like a strange topic, doesn't it? But no, it's a very easy one, a very important one. So what we're going to start with here is, how do you avoid that, worry as an entrepreneur when you decide that you're going to sell your business? One of the worries that I'm sure every single entrepreneur comes to you with is, am I going to be disappointed by the money that I make from the sale of this company? Is there going to be disappointment? Because the purchase price of the company is only one factor to consider. So that is the topic we are diving into today. Take it away, Marla.
Well put, well put. Well, yes. So I would say one of the number one pressing questions that, I think keeps owners up at night is, will I be happy with the outcome, right? Because you've done all this work and you've thought about it, and hopefully you've prepped to sell, you understand the value drivers that matter. And so now you're ready to set that drop dead date and let's go to market. And so what comes up often, the concerns is, how are you going to do that? Is it just the marketing? Is it the way that you're going to negotiate? Is it, do you have a special list buried somewhere that you're going to pull out just for my business? And yes, of course. But I mean, all of that kind of ties together, Megan, because it's important that we're able to create a marketing package that showcases that business in the best light, right? And always never lying about the business, ever. Worst thing you can do. But if there are some weaknesses, try to figure out what are the ways, the objectives around those challenges, and then how can you portray that business in a better light, especially after COVID. That's something we become experts at. And yes, negotiation is huge. You definitely have to know how to not take it personal. I'll never forget. I have to tell a story real quick. There's this two businessmen that I just adore, and they sold their business, their HOA management business. Seasoned professionals. I mean, these guys are sharp. And I was so honored that they chose us. And I happened to meet with them. It was me that went to the coffee with them. And, they chose to work with Raincatcher. Well, we're about halfway through the process. We sold that business in about 6 months. So we're maybe 3 months in. We went through our second buyer, no fault of ours, just one buyer decided it wasn't a good fit. And the one guy said, Marla, I have such experience doing this. Why aren't you bringing me into this conversation? I really think I can help you. I know my business better than you do. And I said, well, sure. Okay, no problem. So let me tell you about the buyer I talked to yesterday that said this. And he went, ouch. And then I said, and let me tell you about the buyer I talked to this morning that said this. And he went, oh, man. And I said, but see, for me, this isn't my baby. I know what they're doing. The buyer's job is to get the best price they can. So negotiation is absolutely a part of it, and being the third party and being removed emotionally is important.
Right.
However, with that said, most important, hands down, most important, if you want to get the right purchase price, the right deal terms, feel good about walking away from that business, right? And also not be forever tied to that business, where you're acting as a consultant or, married to an earnout for the next 2 years. There's got to be what we call buyer tension. And so that is where we have brought in multiple buyers. And sometimes they're different buyer types. Sometimes it can be a private equity group, and it might be an individual buyer, or it might be a financial buyer. And we'll go into that, actually during the presentation that I'll be doing around this topic. But what's most important is that you have choices, that you're not just choosing from two buyers, because how do you create tension if there's two buyers? And so how do you do that, right? That's the question. What do we do to create buyer tension?
Yes. So what do we do?
Well, a couple things. And this is something I'm going to be talking about when we do our webinar. So first and foremost, your financials have got to be in order. They have got to be organized. They have got to be reconciled. You have to have a pro forma, at least 5 years out. It's usually what I like to see. 3 years would be a minimum. That's very important. It's also important that you have portrayed your business in the best light, like the best it ever could be, right? So it's always best to sell your business when you're headed upwards versus down. Unfortunately, for many business owners, that's when they make the decision to sell. So working on your brand is really important prior to selling, making sure you've gone through your social media and there's nothing out there lurking that, you can't fix. If you got some bad reviews, at a minimum, and Megan, you know better than I how to advise clients around this, but business owners, but the best thing you can do is reply. So if there's a bad review, go on there and reply to address.
Don't argue with them.
That's right. Humbly. Yes. I'm sorry that was your experience. I would love to talk to you further, right? To showcase that you do care, because you do. And make sure that you've done cleanup on, any of your social media posts, like they're perfect and you had lots of them, and try to get some engagement going, and, make sure your website looks good. There's nothing like, all of us, I think most of us have woke up one day to a website problem. How did my fonts change, right? So make sure that everything looks really good. That's first. Brand, really important. The next thing that I would say that's really important is to make sure that your sales are the best they've been. So whatever that looks like. So invest in some, AdWords if you can right before you're going to sell. Maybe you go ahead and engage a marketing professional to help you to create some new ideas. You don't want to spend a ton of money, because a lot of times that could be an add back to your bottom line that we're going to calculate your valuation off of. You don't want to have a negative, net income coming into selling your business. But there are so many creative ways to be able to generate additional income. And so make sure that it looks good. And so important, keep your eye on the ball. So there's a lot that happens when you list your business, but make sure that you're looking at your sales. You're paying attention to, are your customers happy? Are your employees happy? Because you don't want bad things to happen while you're going through buyer negotiations. That's not great for the business. So keep your eye on the ball. Make sure the operations is running like it should be at full steam.
Sounds to me like if entrepreneurs just have these practices throughout the course of their business, it would be a lot easier when it comes time to sell it. If you're focused on all these different areas, then, and you're keeping your eye on everything, and you have the right team in place, and you're focused on finance, you're focused on branding, you're focused on sales, it's going to be a lot easier when the transaction is going to happen. If you wait, or like you said, if there is no buyer tension and you have to do all these things, probably it's going to elongate the time that you're going to be able to sell the business, because marketing isn't an immediate action reaction.
No.
There is sales, right? We're looking at 90-day cycles typically from what action you're taking to the results that are actually occurring. So it's just better to just keep all of this going the right way anyways.
It's unfortunate. There's many reasons why it happens, but a lot of times, unfortunately, we'll list a business and we get a couple months into it. Maybe, the first quarter report comes out and the buyers are excited, the sellers excited, and they get that report and they go, oh no. And so it is very important. I talk about all the time, Megan, on these conversations that not only should you have a budget, so that's that performance, make sure you know what's coming up, so you know that you're going to have good cash flow and you're going to have positive net income. But it's also important to have a cash management plan in place so that you're watching what's happening, because again, busy business owners, I get it. I'm not shaming anybody. Been there, done it. But you got to pay attention when it comes time to list that business in order to get that buyer attention.
And it's just like anything else. I've obviously, that I come from the marketing direction and the marketing background. So don't be that person who, when you have an event, whatever that event may be coming up, that's when you decide to invest in marketing. Because again, it takes time for marketing to take effect. So if you are wanting to, whether that's you're actually having an event or you're having something that's coming up and you're wanting people to come to it, or you are at the process of wanting to sell your business, don't start 90 days before and say, I'm going to create the first marketing plan that I've ever created and I'm going to start investing in marketing. Do it all the way along, for the love of God, so that you know what the results are. Then it actually works to create a pro forma, because you know how much your budget is, and so on and so forth. But that's why
so on and so forth.
We can't iterate it enough, Marla and I. If you are thinking about selling your business, now is the time to talk about it. If it's 2 years down the line that you're thinking of selling it, if it's 10 years down the line, whenever it is,
right,
start talking about it, because Raincatcher's team can help you do all of the things necessary to really get the best price when it's time to negotiate.
And we're going to create buyer retention. That's the name of the game. And then we're going to negotiate like no one you've ever seen.
Right. Well, that was a quick point that I wanted to ask a little bit more about too. So when you're talking about the different buyer types, most business owners come in thinking about these different buyer types, or do they just think, oh, it's going to be someone out on the free market who's looking on, the MLS of businesses? I can't remember what that's called. Or, do they know that investors sometimes do, or that you might know somebody in your community already who would be interested in buying? Do business
great question. First off, I have to address, because I wish that this exists, there is no MLS for business, for selling a business. It does not exist. So that, and I'm glad you bring that up, because so it makes sense, because the only way, if a business owner hasn't sold a business and this is their first experience going through this, really think about it. The only experience they've had that would match selling a business would be selling your home. So and it is very similar. We talk about, like, just like you would stage your home, you have to stage your business to sell and clean up your home so it looks good, clean up your business. But that is the one differentiation between selling a business and a home. There's no MLS. We have comps, some comps. So we end up, paying tons of money for different software that tells us, okay, this business sold on this date. But some industries, we're lucky if we get two comps, because it's not a industry that's popular, or there hasn't been any businesses that have sold recently. So that's where the valuation model comes in play. So important that you can stand up against, buyers wanting to negotiate down the valuation that you're taking that business to the market. Really important. So the other thing that I think is important that you said is, yes, most business owners have in their mind, okay, well, this is the type of buyer that I'm pretty sure is going to want to buy my business. But what they don't think about is that the right buyer for taking on and continuing the legacy of your business? That comes up a lot. So if you don't want employees let go and you don't want changes in your customer base and your service model, I talk about that with Kaizen, private equity probably is not the best bet because they're already going to have their own management team and they're going to make changes because you're more than likely an add-on unless you're really big to one of their current companies. And so the type of buyer is so important. And Megan, I'll tell you that after we agree on the price that we're going to take that business to the market, the second most important conversation is, okay, what does that look like to you as far as the legacy of your business? Because a lot of owners care a lot about their employees and customers, and you should. And so that buyer has got to care about the same things you do, care about the culture, care about, the model you set up. So that's really important.
Yeah, and I would imagine that the different buyer types would then create different kinds of buyer tension that you want to create as Raincatcher.
That's right.
Yet another reason why it's important to have an experienced company that you hire to help sell your business, because they're going to know the right types of tension to create based on the buyers. Not only the buyers, just the buyers in general.
That's right. And we're also going to create a strategic buyers list based upon the needs of the business and the owner. And we're not going to entertain conversations with certain buyer types because we already know that's not what the seller wants. Why waste your time? That time kills good deals. So that's one of the things that's always very important, is controlling that buying process from start to finish. And so that's part of the strategic list. Here's the type of buyers that we're looking for, and this is who we want to talk to and why.
And that goes back to the same thing of the urgency. It's ideal that when you go in to talk to a business broker, you're not at that point of urgency where you're like, I've got to get this thing out of my world in the next 2 months, because there is all the work that typically needs to be done ahead of time. So if you can go in with more of a runway, expecting that when that time of going to market is the crunch time, you will have had all of your questions answered. You will have cleaned up the house, so to speak. You will have staged the home and the business. You will have gotten all of that work done in advance so that when it comes time for crunch time, you're prepared, you're ready, and it's not such a disruption.
That's right. And that's why I'm here. And that's why we're talking, right, Megan? That's why when we talked, it's like, oh, business owners have got to hear this. That's why we're here. We want you to hear this and listen. I had this conversation actually earlier today. I want to educate business owners on what it takes to create not only a sellable business, but a valuable, profitable business. And so everything we're talking about, as far as like the value drivers and ways to look at your cash flow and brand awareness and the marketing, tips you've given, those are all things you should be doing from day one. But that's where I want to throw out an endorsement that if you're a business owner and you're not sure what to do, hire a coach. And this is where what Raincatcher focuses on is education, getting that business owner ready to sell in 1 to 2 years. But we've got a bench of coaches that love to help business owners from day one, want to work with you for the next 10, 20 years. So if you're not sure, reach out to Megan. I know we've got so many great coaches in the Danes. And, if you want to learn more, we're happy to talk to you, and we're not going to force you into a sale. Keep running your business, and then when you're ready to sell, we're here.
Absolutely. Because it wouldn't behoove you guys to try to make someone sell who doesn't want to sell. It's not going to work for anyone.
And it doesn't happen overnight, like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're not going to different businesses' houses like the in certain areas. Are you ready to sell your home yet? No.
Seriously. Yeah, we do get people knocking on the door. Hey, do you have this business for sale?
Right.
So I mean, the buyer's list is really important. Like the buyer's list we have put together, they're vetted buyers. We know what they're looking for. We know the industry, the revenue type. So we've already got a list of 100 buyers normally, that we can reach out to, if not more. Some businesses, 1,000, but it's
Right.
narrowing it down so that we get the right buyers, so the seller's not wasting their time. We create that tension, you get a choice on who you're going to transition your business to.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I wanted to let everyone know that the next training is all about exit strategy. So the
Yes.
Raincatcher training is on June 1st at 2 p.m. Mountain. So that will be the next training. But between now and then, we'll have a couple of these other segments. And this is a process, right? It's not like every day we run into a business that's ready to sell. But when the time comes, Raincatcher will be top of mind. You will have listened to Marla and me talk about this and harp on the importance of working with someone who knows what they're doing the whole time along. So stay tuned with these conversations, learn more and build upon your knowledge. And you always can go back into the video library of past trainings. There are 3 others in the library that we want you to go watch and learn from, because there is depth of information in all of them. Anything else you want to say, Marla, as we close out?
No. Thank you, Megan. This was wonderful. I love my time with you. And I will end that, if you're a business owner and you're just not sure where to start, reach out to us. Don't be worried that I don't know. I'm not really wanting to sell, but I want to learn more about this. That's why we're here. So Thanks for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.